The more that you can make this part of your body, again, your body and your soul is the instrument. The piano is more of an output device for what's inside of you. We're going to talk about melodic minor modes today. Probably the simplest way to find it, there's a couple of ways to think about just about everything in terms of music theory. At least two, sometimes three or four, which is beautiful but also a bit annoying at times. So the way that I think about this scale, the most basic for me, I try to keep things super simple. It is a C major scale, we'll start with C, with a flatted third. You could, if you know your minor scales super well, there's what we would call natural minor. And if we raise the 6 and the 7, that would also give you melodic minor. If you were in a theory classroom in college, they would probably like for you to think about this as a raised 6 and raised 7 minor scale rather than a major scale flat 3. But I want to give you the simplest answer, so that's going to be the way to think about it. So if you know your major scales, you really do know your melodic minor scales, just flatting one note. I always like to ask myself, what is the diatonic chord that is found in this scale? And so what I'll start to do when I'm dealing with any mode is I'll start playing all the skip notes, in essence stacking thirds. So I'll take out, D, take out F, take out A, and we're left with a minor major 7 chord. So we're literally playing the scale but skipping every other note. So this would be the basic diatonic 7th chord. We're dealing with jazz harmony here, so we're dealing with 7th chords. And then I might try replacing, just skipping notes still, or replacing the notes that were down here but putting them up here. Okay, so I put that D, stack the next skip note. We'll skip over this E flat to an F to an A. Okay, so that is an unfurled version of this scale. We've basically taken the notes that were down here, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B, taken the D, the F, and the A out and stacked them as skip notes. So I know what the extensions are, which is something that we deal with a lot. So a 9 is diatonic to the scale, so I can play this over a minor major 9. There's an 11 in there. This chord is going to start to get confused on screen here, so we're probably going to see some weird chord names. And a 13. You can see it's starting to call it something pretty strange here. So we're just stacking thirds. I'm a big fan of Bill Evans, and he would stack chords in thirds all the way up. Now, if we stacked another third, if we skip B, then we're back to our root. So we just have a root. So we could play this over a C minor major 7, a 9, C minor 9, major 9 with an 11, and a 13. And it's just so beautiful to hear this sort of unfurled into a little bit more of a stacked third kind of relationship. Every single relationship between those notes is a third. So we typically, in music history for a long time, before we get into stacking other intervals like a fourth, right? We get into some of these more modern, and by modern I mean like 1960s kinds of chords and harmonies. Not stacking so much in fourths here. We're still stacking in thirds. So I like to bring that into my scale practice as well. From there, I might get to know the scale a little bit more intimately. What are the triad qualities? So again, just going through, we can try these together. Try some triads. So C major scale with a flat third. Minor. Minor, okay, interesting. Now, this is one of the few scales that has an augmented triad as part of its diatonic chord landscape. Major. Major, diminished, diminished, and minor.
Hey, Noah here. Just want to let you know really quick that most of the content you're actually seeing on this channel is coming from completely free masterclasses that we've been holding. So if you actually want to join and be a part of those masterclasses, again, it's totally free. Click one of the links in the description that will give you access to free resources, free courses, and of course the free masterclasses. And as soon as you're on the email list, you will be one of the first people to know when we are holding these masterclasses. And on top of that, you get lots of free sheet music and videos and resources as well. So highly recommend you sign up. You can also join our free online community, which is in Discord, in a server there. So you can click the link down there for that as well. And we are on there interacting, hanging out, giving people feedback and advice, as well as on the free masterclasses, Zoom hangs, and feedback sessions. So again, highly recommend you get signed up, and I will see you there.
So what's notable about this scale for me, there's basically 4 triad types, basic triad types. You would have a C major, a minor, a diminished, and an augmented. Those would be our basic triad types. It's not really anything else than that. We have each of those represented in this scale, the diatonic notes. So you get a really interesting variety. You have your minors. You have an augmented, which is kind of rare to find. Very cool sound. Even if I spread it out like that and put a C on the bottom, already I have some interesting sounds, some interesting note choices. And we have our major, major, diminished, diminished. So we get diminished, major, minor, augmented. Then I might look next at the diatonic 7th chord, so just adding another note. So we know we got our minor, major. Just a straight minor. Here's an interesting one. Okay, E major 7, E flat major 7 with a sharp 5th. Very cool sounding harmony. Again, if we put that here, over a C, we have some nice extensions. We have a 9th extension, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Okay, so that might even be a nice rootless voicing for C, to put the 3, 5, raise 7, and 9. Moving on here, we have a dominant 7 on the 4 chord. Another dominant 7, so we're kind of mirroring chords. We had a minor and a minor triad here, and a major triad here. Now those become dominant chords when we put the 7th. Okay? Minor with a flat 5. We're getting a lot of chord types. Another minor 7 with a flat 5. And we're back. One of the things that Noah talks so much about, and I think is great, is hanging out with the scale. This is the same fingering. David, you brought up fingering maybe last session or 2 sessions ago. You had a really great point about that. So again, trying to keep it super simple. Same fingering for this scale as C major. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just with a flat. Okay, so I might hang out with the scale in the most basic way, just running it up and down. Right, pretty straightforward stuff. Then I might try some of these other shapes. Right, the triads, diatonic 7th chords. Already that's giving me something that sounds a little bit more like music than not. And even with those very basic shapes, you can start creating a little variety that will give you a little bit more contour and interest. So I'm always playing it bottom up, right? Rising. Now, here's an interesting thing that will already give you a nice twist. What if I played it top down, but the chords still go up? Okay, a little bit more interesting. More interesting still might be taking that 1, 3, and 5 and playing it in a different order. Maybe I go 3, 5, 1. Let's move that shape. Okay, that's some pretty interesting stuff already. Now we could even combine, just with the triads, just this very basic shape that we know well, how can we use it in a way that's a little bit more creative? Well, again, keeping with Noah's idea of hanging out with the scale, let's combine approaches now. What if we did up one triad and down the next? Now, this is where the fingering will have to get a little bit more creative. Okay, and I didn't do as consistent of a fingering as I should. I need to work this out a little bit more. But that's the sound. If I start to keep the idea of a triad and I play the notes maybe in a different order for each chord, you might get something like... Okay, same shape, but just playing each set of those three pitches in a different order. We're moving more and more and more towards music and melodic interest rather than just pure scale practice. The beautiful thing about piano is if you play them as block chords first, you know the shape, and then you can vary it in any way, any order that you want. The thing that gets tricky is just the fingering. Okay, same thing stands also for the seventh chords. You could vary that as well. You know, I'm starting on the 5th, 7, 3, 1. 5, 7, 3, 1. And I would sing these as well, just to really get the sound. Again, you could even say 5, 7, 3, 1, 5, 7, 3, 1. Really getting it in your body. You could even try then to go back and making sure that you've really internalized it, because that's the really important thing, rather than just having your hands be on autopilot, which can be a good thing at times, is maybe I would start again and I would sing it and just play air piano. Do-dee-doo-doo, do-dee-doo-doo. Now I might check myself. Do-dee-doo-doo. Okay, great. The more that you can make this part of your body, again, your body and your soul is the instrument. The piano is more of an output device for what's inside of you.